everyone, it's me Giovanni and I'm back with another video. So, I heard that a sequel to Fnaf, obviously Fnaf 2, is in the works. But, I heard that it's probably gonna be released in 2025. You know, with Megan 2, Scream 7, and Snow White, Disney's live-action remake of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, starring Rachel Zegler. I'm guessing for these projects being released 2 years later in 2025 are basically useless to me. It's pathetic. I mean, why would you take the time to have a movie, an upcoming movie, released 2 years later? It doesn't make sense. It really, really doesn't make sense. It's ridiculous. It's really ridiculous, to be honest. But if they do actually get the time to actually make sequels, if they do actually get the time to make the FNAF 2 sequel, then I hope they get involved with the cast, that some of the cast that were supposed to be in the original FNAF movie, like Mike and Abby's parents, Markiplier as a security guard, and some other characters as well, like the puppet. I also want to do another recap of the FNAF timeline, but with all the details that I have. Like, for example, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza was opened in 1983, which also corresponds to the Bite of 83 happening in FNAF 4, in like Fredbear's Family Diner. One detail that I like about the movie is that it explains how the children died. Like, Gabriel died from by hiding. Susie died from screaming. Foxy died from running, and Bonnie died from fighting. Which is, it's pretty interesting because let's just say, if there's a murder, there has to be specific details of how someone died. Or when someone, before they died, they try to do something, like either escape, fight, or hide, or like scream from the killer. There has to be something. So I'm glad that was added in. And like I said in some of the recaps of the FNAF timeline, William Afton and his wife Laura were in the processes of getting a divorce after Evan's death. And during that time, William killed Charlie, Henry's daughter, out of jealousy and anger because of the animatronic that killed his son, an animatronic that he and Henry built. And Charlie was outside of Fredbear's Family Diner due to some bullies just dragging her outside in the pouring rain and locking her in. So she was basically trapped outside in the pouring rain, and that's when William stumbled upon her and just decided to kill her. So Yeah, pretty much. I also have down the 19 children that William Afton killed, not including his own children, because there's, even in the movie, there's no way that he would kill his own child, which was Vanessa. And there's no way that he would ever kill his own children. He kills other children, mostly due to, as we know now, after Evan's death, William was angry at Michael, and in the VHS tapes, William says that he wants to kill Michael, but if he does that, then he'll get caught. So he kills other children that he might see as naughty, and if they were like Michael, then they deserve it. So he picks specific children who he might see as naughty, and kill them without the slightest bit of guilt. I mean, he would kill them even if they start squealing quickly, and he would walk away without the slightest bit of guilt. Which, honestly, might make more sense, because I felt like, yes, because I was actually picturing that, because William is similarly like Mrs. Trelawney from Alice Sweet Alice and Billy Chapman from Silent Night, Deadly Night, where they're punishing their big victims even if they don't deserve it. So William punishes some quote-unquote naughty children. Interesting. Very interesting. And finally, because some people have thought that the dog became mangled, like Susie's dog that died. And someone said on TikTok that the Susie's dog might have possessed a cupcake, which I think makes much more sense instead of the other animatronics, because how would a dog possess a living animatronic that's moving on its own? Meanwhile, the cupcake, well, even though it moves on its own, it just doesn't. Metaphorically. You know, like I said, I want to do another recap of the timeline with all the details, but due to the fact that I have already recapped the Fnaf timeline, my version, 3 times, I would safely say that if I decide to do this again, I would have to put it into separate parts, just to lay out all the details, and just in case I get to the 15-minute limit of the video, then you'll just have to wait for the other parts later on, just to be safe. Oh yeah, I had down the 19 children that William Afton killed. He first killed Charlie Emily, then first of the missing children, Susie Chambers, who at first screamed, and so she was killed quickly after that. Gabriel Daniels, who was hiding from William, he gets killed. Fritz Thompson, who tries to run away from William, but he gets killed as well. Jeremy possesses Bonnie and tries to fight William, but also gets killed. And I mean, For a kid to try to fight back, it doesn't make sense why Bonnie's the most aggressive. I mean, you go, Bonnie, I love you. And besides, even though Bonnie is aggressive, it does also make sense because even if he was the first animatronic to ever jump scare someone, or the first animatronic that Scott Coffin started with when he was creating the game, he did end up getting nightmares from Bonnie. So yeah, I don't know what happens with Cassidy, but all I know is that she gets killed just as much as the other kids do, by just getting brutally killed by William Afton in the safe room. As for Andrew, Michael, Cassidy Brooks, Millie, Iris, Billy, Albert, and Roy. Some of the names are from the books, but I'm including them here because why not? And besides, the books somewhat confirms certain details in the game, so it's fine. They were in experiments by William Afton after William discovered Remnant. One of them, being Millie, jumped into Funtime Freddy's stomach hatch and she did not make it out alive, pretty much killed and stuck inside of Funtime Freddy. Oh yeah, the details. William Afton and Laura went through a divorce after Evan's death, and 1 year later, in 1984, they finally get it, and William manipulates his children, including Elizabeth, to get custody of them. And after William murders the missing children, he discovers Remnant, which is revealed to be the main source of why Evan possessed Fredbear/Golden Freddy. So William decides to experiment with this by creating Circus Baby's Pizza World and the Funtime animatronics. But even when it was going smoothly, one of his children, Elizabeth, accidentally got too close to Baby when William wasn't looking and got killed by Circus Baby. And of course, William was devastated, but decided to continue the experiments anyway, out of anger and other emotions. And the remaining experiments were the Fnaf bedroom and Fun with Plush Trap, which one of them, being Roy, managed to survive. Meanwhile, the other kids didn't. Which were, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 other missing children. 11, to be exact. And, of course, 10 years later, in 1996, Rory discovers the experiments. He tries to get out of there, but a pre-recorded voice message from William Afton wants him to continue the experiments, and so he does. And he presumably dies, especially 1 year later. And of course, Michael, who gets scooped by the scooper in sister location, gets ejected with Remnant, and has memories of the kids experiencing the nightmare animatronics and experiments from his father. And one of these nightmares, involving Nightmare Fredbear, involving the survival logbook under recent nightmares, is the main catalyst for why he decides to work at Fazbear's Fright. So yeah. By the way, middle names for the Afton family, minus the girls. Isn't it beautiful?